for all accounts, even the witness statements of his friends, he's in a very different mood that day. He's having dinner. He had lunch with his brother. He's calling his mom. The injunction gets lifted. So by and large, and the day, true to Memphis weather, is pleasant, right? There's no sort of remnants of the storm that existed the night before. Like the weather's pleasant. Everything seems okay.
And you mentioned the injunction was lifted, and he sent Andrew Young to federal court that morning. And when he returns around 4 o'clock, Dr. King kind of jokes with him and says, "Where have you been all day? Don't you know you're supposed to check in with me?" And Andrew Young is like, "Wait, I didn't have a wait." And he just kind of stops him in the middle of his sentence and takes a pillow in the room 201 of the Lorraine, and they just have this pillow fight like they are in elementary school, and everyone's just in the greatest mood. And so, there were three things that Dr. King loved, and that was his family. His favorite television show was Star Trek, and he loved a good home cooked meal. And he was going to get that at the Reverend Samuel Billy Cowles' home. And so he goes and he gets dressed upstairs in his room, which was room 306, and he steps outside on the balcony around 5 till 6 o'clock, and he speaks with guests in the parking lot.
And I think we should pause there to highlight that the Lorraine Motel's courtyard is a very social spot. There was a pool in the courtyard because it's a motel, people could pull up. So it wasn't unusual for folks on the balcony to be leaning over, chatting, that sort of thing. So it was very much the activity of the day was just the life of the Lorraine Motel that was happening. Nothing was unusual.
No, everyone's just waiting around. They thought dinner was going to be at 5, and no one was kind of over. It wasn't overwhelmingly weird that it was an hour late because everyone was lounging and having a wonderful time. Um, Dr. King even joked to Mrs. Bailey, Mrs. Lori Bailey, the co-owner of the Lorraine Motel, and he says, "Miss Bailey, if Reverend Cowles' food is not sufficient for me, I'm going to come back and I want you to make your world famous catfish." And she laughed. It was that kind of mood leading up to 6 p.m. on April the 4th.
And then let's talk about those
Last minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
Sure. So as Dr. King steps outside, one of the first people he sees is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And the two men share a joke. Dr. King calls down and says, "Jesse, you want to dress for dinner? And where's your tie?" And Reverend Jackson responds, "Doc, a prerequisite for dinner is an appetite, not a tie. And I have that." And, the two men laugh. And then he says, "Hey, Doc, you remember Ben? Ben Branch, who's a Memphis native, but lived in Chicago at the time, who was the band leader for the Operation Breadbasket Band. And a couple of weeks earlier, Dr. King heard him play one of his favorite spirituals and tunes, Precious Lord, Take My Hand." And he calls down and he says, "Yeah, that's my man. Hey, Ben, I want you to play Precious Lord tonight, and I want you to play it real pretty." The National Civil Rights Museum was honored to acquire the saxophone, which is now in our permanent exhibition that he would have played on that night. And the chauffeur, who was volunteering from R.S. and Lewis and Sons Funeral Home down the street on Vance, called up. His chauffeur, Solomon Jones, said, "Doc, you should go and grab your jacket. It's getting kind of cold." The final words that we believe that he said was he leaned up from the balcony and he says, "Do you really think I'll need my coat?" And then 6:01.
Yeah.